WURD.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook.
And we're back. You are listening to the final hour of the 2021 WURD Empowerment Experience. I'm Sarah Lomax Reese, President and CEO of WURD Radio, and I am really excited for this panel. But before we dive in, just want to remind you all that this is the WURD Empowerment Experience, which is the theme is the power, purpose, and possibility of Black women, conversations on healing and wholeness. And throughout, you've been listening to these words of empowerment featuring the voices of Black women from around Philadelphia, uplifting and inspiring us throughout the day. And so we're going to be closing things out at 5 p.m., but of course, stay tuned because we've got Amadi Braxton with Solutions on WURD at 5 o'clock, and then Envy McKee's birthday party at 7 o'clock. So you're definitely going to stay tuned on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, and streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD app. You can also be watching us on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. And this event, this virtual event, is sponsored by Pico, Comcast, Keystone First, Temple University, Einstein, PA Lottery, Spectrum Health, Philadelphia Museum of Art, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, and Envision to Be Well. And the WURD Empowerment Experience is also supported by the Racial Equity in Journalism Fund at Borealis Philanthropy. And so now, very, very excited to embark on this final panel of the Empowerment Experience, introducing the new women of WURD, the new women of WURD. And so if you're watching us, you see 4 squares. I'm going to start with Tiffany Bacon, who you guys hear, you feel like you know her. She's on every Friday from 10 to 1 as the host of The Source. But she's also our program and news director of WURD. She came on full time in September. Was it September? September. It's all a whirlwind in this COVID world. But Tiffany has this incredibly long history in radio. She is like a radio icon and legend in Philadelphia. And so you've probably heard her on all kinds of other stations, music stations, but she's also this incredible artist, and she does costume design, and she does theatrical stuff. And so she will tell you all about that in just a minute. But Tiffany, we're going to hear from Tiffany in a different capacity than we usually hear from her. And also we have 2 new shows that we're going to talk about today that are going to be debuting in January of 2022, and 2 of the hosts of those 2 new shows are with us today. And so I'm going to start with Tanya Hopkins, and Tanya is her name is her moniker is the Food Griot. We're launching a new show called Savory and Sweet, and it's a food and culture show. And Tanya, and I'm going to read her bio. She descends from a long line of professional cooks in America, traced to enslaved African Americans in our nation's earliest days, who skillfully toiled under harsh conditions and without recognition in plantation kitchens of Maryland and Virginia for centuries. She did postgraduate food studies in the New School and the Institute of Culinary Education, the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, Windows on the World Wine School with Kevin Zraeli, and trained with the international storytelling company Narrative. Tanya subsequently segued to work as an independent food and drink scholar on special projects. She's researched and is a contributing writer for the Oxford Encyclopedia of Food and Drink in America, the New Encyclopedia of Southern Culture, Food History News, Essence Magazine, and Spruce Eats. And so we are so excited that Tanya is going to bring all of her wealth of knowledge and experience and creativity and humor to the WURD airwaves Sundays from 11 to 1. Hey, Tanya.
Hola. I don't know why I just said hola.
It's cool. And before we dive in, I want to introduce Carol Riddick, who you've also heard quite a bit on our airwaves over the last several weeks. She's been guest hosting on The Source. I'm sorry, not The Source, on Safe Space and in other spaces. And she's also this amazing artist. She is this amazing talent. Born and raised in South Philadelphia, music has been a part of her life since she was a teenager. It was in her early adulthood that the industry took notice of her vocal talent when she got her start touring as a vocalist with Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith, aka Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Since then, Carol has blessed the tracks of many distinguished artists. She is featured on records by Anthony Hamilton, Jill Scott, Norman Brown, Kindred the Family Soul, Gerald Beasley, Jeff Bradshaw, Music Soul Child, and many, many more. And Carol is going to be co-hosting a new show about relationships, and it's called Love and Life. And so we're going to hear from all three, from Tiffany, from Tanya, from Carol, about what they have in store for the WURD audience, the WURD airwaves, the WURD video waves, and just what's happening coming up in 2022. So let me start with you, Tiffany. That was a big buildup. So Tiffany, tell us what you are, just more about your background, how you arrived here at WURD, and what you're envisioning for the future.
Awesome. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Sarah. I got to WURD in 2019. Thanks to Josh. Josh brought me in, and actually I've been in radio. My 32nd anniversary is in January 2022. 32 years. I legit started in college, and big shout out to Temple, because that's where I went to school. RTI is where I cut my teeth in this business, and I've been fortunate enough to stay here, home. I'm from North Philly. I'm a North Philly John all day, every day. Yeah, I'm from North, and so I was happy and determined to stay home. And build my career here. And when I got the opportunity to come to WURD, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, I know WURD, I know WURD's legacy. Let me see what I can do here. And then the opportunity to elevate to this position as news and program director just really excited me, because I wanted to take everything that I've learned in radio all these years and dump it into the pot of goodness that is WURD, and see what I can do about bringing. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. I'm a creative. I'm an actor. I design clothes. Like, I do all things creative. So I wanted to draw on all of that and see what I can do to add additional flavor, present additional voices, additional conversations on our station, to really expand what you're hearing us talk about. All of life should be represented in our conversation on the station, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
Excellent. And I'm like constantly dampening Tiffany's spirits and creative spirits by saying, how much is that going to cost?
But see, Sarah, you don't dampen my spirit. I'm like, but I come back like, but we can always work it out. Exactly. We can figure it out.
Right. But I'm always trying to figure out, how do we pay for everything? So that's my boring role. But it's so great to have you and your creativity. It's being felt, it's being seen in very powerful and pronounced ways already. And, the Thanksgiving member special and the Labor Day, putting in the work award, like little audio documentaries of our awardees from Founders Day, which is just really beautiful, beautiful work. And Tiffany is really the architect of these two new shows that are coming to fruition. And so I want to pivot to you, Tanya Hopkins, the food griot. You are such a, I know you very personally, very well, but I also am just so inspired by the way that you have dove in, whatever, dived into this food history, drink scholarship, because it's so important, and it's something that we as Black people have been denied the value and the credibility and the depth of our contributions. So talk about how you got to where you are and how you landed in the WURD lineup.
Thank you, Sarah. Great build up. Thank you, Tiffany. Hi, Carol. This is so exciting. What a gift today has been. I've been tuned in since it started with Dr. Robin and just all the messages has just been so amazing and so affirming to this work that we do, this work that I do, and such an opportunity to connect formally and officially and really bring this consistently through WURD, Progressive Black Radio. So it's been such a long time coming. I mean, if this is a 2-hour panel we have, how much time we got? I mean, a lot of it just has to do, I think someone spoke earlier about like authenticity, being true to yourself, just knowing who you are and who you aren't, and reflecting back. I mean, I was that kid in 6th grade, social studies, history, like, okay, yeah, they kept talking about battles and war, and that's how we were learning history. And I'm like, but what were they eating? I'm like, what did they eat? Like, what was the crop? What was, and I knew I had a sense early on as a child that just coming from the family I came from of foodies, we would be in the middle of one meal, planning the next meal, and growing stuff in the backyard and going to the market 3 times. I mean, it was just like, and aunts and great aunts and people who had cooked professionally, had restaurants, all this stuff. It was just such a central part. And so when food media became a thing, I noticed this conspicuous absence of Black voices, Black perspectives, Black families, Black kitchens, our food, not just our food, but American foods, iconic American foods that I know we have everything to do with. You're welcome, America. Many of the iconic things that are symbols of summer, watermelon, fried chicken, these things that come out of the culture, things that we often, the other side, have some shame about, right? Ironically, a delicacy like fried chicken, a gift from the gods or whoever you believe in, watermelon, hydration, nutrition at the same time. And yes, it's from Africa, and it comes here because of us through that whole trade. But I digress. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Sarah, but basically it's just, this was that one area that I started to get into the data and the research as a qualitative researcher in marketing and advertising, focusing on the role of culture and ethnicity in consumption. And that was kind of the beginning of like, this information is too important for me only to stay on this path of how can I use it to sell more stuff to Black people or to any people. That selling is great. I don't want to be anti, whatever. But the point is, learning information that also can be used for good in terms of healing and empowerment, understanding our history and how no other group of people has played such a critical role in every single facet of American foodways, from agriculture to preparation and harvest to beverage and drink and everything, the development of restaurants, fine dining, certain industries, not just, the cooking that happened during enslavement and the cooking that happened by free people as entrepreneurs, culinary entrepreneurs, but afterwards, the industries that arose and emerged that we had everything to do with making possible in our contributions. So it was so boundless. And when I saw how history was being taught, I was like, oh, no. I got to play a part.
You need to insert yourself. Well, we're excited because we're going to have this Savory and Sweet show will be every Sunday from 11 to 1. There will be opportunities for hopefully COVID, if COVID ever goes away, we'll do some in-person things as well. So more on that in a second, but let's turn to Carol Riddick.
Wait, really quick, Sarah, if I can, really quick, just to interrupt. Before you go to Carol, just for the folks, because there's some people on social media who want to know about Michael Kort. So Michael Kort is actually going to move to Saturdays. He will be on Saturdays 1 to 3. So Michael Kort is still there, not on Sundays. He will move to Saturdays 1 to 3. So they just want to know. What's up with Michael?
Yeah, no, that's a very important, and of course, Michael Kort is such a powerful and important part of our lineup, and we know that he has a huge following. So we made every effort to make sure we preserved his voice and his show in the lineup. Yes,
Tiffany, do you want to talk a little bit about that time window, that brunch?
Well, let me go to Carol for. Maybe not. What happened? Oh, there she is. Like,
wait a minute.
So let's go to Carol Riddick, and then I'm going to basically turn it over to Tiffany to navigate. But Carol Riddick, We're so excited. First of all, thank you for lending your voice over the last several weeks to Safe Space and in other places. And we're so excited that you're going to be in a regular slot talking about relationships.
Yes, I am beyond excited. Beyond, I'm ecstatic. I want to say thank you to you all. But I'm so looking forward to having some of those conversations that we typically don't like to have about a lot of different topics. I've spoken with Tiffany and with my co-host Donovan, and we've all agreed that, you know, as adults, we don't listen attentively, and we don't communicate effectively, you know. So we're hoping that we can start a movement where we can all adult better, and hopefully for some properly.
Excellent. So Tiffany, have at it. Do you want to just give a little bit more? Because you've really been in the guts, of developing and conceptualizing these shows. And I really want you to kind of drive from this point. And I'll chime in as needed.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank you so much. And Tanya, you wanted to talk about the time slot and why that is so important. So do you want to flesh that out for everyone and let them know why the 11 to 1 on Sunday time slot is so important for our new show, Savory and Sweet?
I had actually flipped the script. I was asking you, because in our early conversations, you were very passionate about that, being behind the vision that you had. So I was going to have you answer that question, Tiffany.
Okay, all right. Flipping the script. All right, flipping the script. That's all right. So the idea, Philly is a brunch town. I know so many people who brunch and brunch hard in this town, and they are looking for new places to go. If there's live music, if there's poetry, if there's just a good atmosphere. And we're a food town. We love our food, and there's so much rich history in the various restaurants and eateries all throughout the city. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you go in, there is some good place to eat. So I wanted to really kind of get into that atmosphere of brunch time. And as we start to look at and plan and work through possible in-person events, capturing that element of come join WURD, come join Tanya, come join Savory and Sweet at a brunch where you get a full experience, a conversation about food while you're eating good food in a great atmosphere. So that was like the importance of it for me.
Yep, I call it brunch and learn.
Yes, brunch and learn.
I'm sure somebody else has used that, but that's what I did.
As a foodie, I'm looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to it.
Okay, yeah, and that's the thing.
To life, yeah.
So, Tanya, what are some of the topics that you're kind of curating as we get ready to unveil this, topics of shows that you think would be really valuable to the audience?
Yeah, it's been so exciting developing the segments and which ones we're going to do weekly or periodically. There's one I'm really excited about that Tiffany had planted the seed for, that connects the dots between genealogy and culinary history, and understanding and learning more about our families, our family trees, and relatives and family, biological and extended, through iconic dishes that someone might be associated with, and understanding, taking that and looking into the etymology of these dishes and the sources and origins, and connecting cultural dots, in this place that has so many cultures and ethnicities, including for us, people that have been so attempted to be homogenized and one-dimensionalized, when we are really, from day one, coming from so many different cultures and languages and experience and religions and so forth. So that's going to be fun, looking at culinary history through genealogy, keeping it fresh, keeping it current, newsworthy topics, food in the news, Black food entrepreneurship, connecting those dots to the past, particularly knowing how Philadelphia is is arguably the birthplace of the catering industry, not just Black caterers, but American catering, right here in Philadelphia back in the 1700s during the colonial era. And, you know, that was entrepreneurship on some other level, and connecting those dots, you know, up to today and looking at what Black entrepreneurs are up to, looking forward to that conversation. Well, I don't want to put any spoilers out there, so I'm gonna just button up that last point. But,
all right, all right.
I love
Carol?
it.
I'm sorry, Tiffany. I said you should drive, and here I am. It's
You can take the wheel if you want to.
I
You know.
love it.
conversation, ladies. It's a conversation.
Right, I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
love
so Carol, I want to hear like what you're envisioning for love and life. You know, relationships are one of those topics that everybody, whether you're married, single, you know, divorced, you know, widowed, whatever, there's something for everyone. So
Yes.
what's your approach?
There is so much truth to that. There is something for everyone. So we talked about discussing self-love. We talked about discussing love as it applies to romance. We talked about familial love. So, you know, there's that umbrella, as you will, if you will, and under that umbrella of life as it applies to love in every single scenario. In those regards, it could be with regard to a mother and daughter relationship, father and son, or parents and children. It could be, you know, again, romance. And since we're in 2021, knocking on 22's door, you know, we're embarking on different types of romantic relationships. So we're talking about discussing those, having those conversations too. So there is a lot under the umbrella of love and life that we plan on diving into.
And Tiffany, maybe you can share that the construct of love and life, because Carol is definitely one of the hosts, but it's a co-host kind of structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Carol and Donovan West will be co-hosting this, but every other day you'll hear a different perspective. So one day it'll be focused on Carol's perspective, and the next day it's focused on Donovan's perspective. They will alternate until the last day of the week, Friday morning, Thursday night. The show comes on at midnight. So depending on how you look at midnight for some is the extension of the same day. For others, it's a brand new day. So I have to make that determination depending on if you're up late or not. And on the culmination of the Friday or Thursday night, Donovan and Carol get together to talk about one of these topics and share both of their opinion in the show. Because it is so late, you know, they're going to present this information, but, you know, we're hoping you'll be able to like reach out to us and hopefully have an email address so that you can reach out to them to share thoughts or even ask questions, because since it is a late night show, they're going to get really real, really quick about what's going on in our relationship life. And as Carol just mentioned, you know, when you think about the gamut of relationships, how we get along with each other is often determined by how we get along with ourselves. So it was important for me to speak with them about making sure there is a component about how you love yourself, how you show up for you before anybody else is in the room. And then we can talk about how you relate to other people. So yeah, that late night, midnight to 2 in the morning thing is about to be real up in here.
To be on and popping. Let me just reintroduce what we're doing, what we're up to today. You are listening to the final segment, the final panel of the 2021 WURD Empowerment Experience. We have been centering women's voices today. It's the power, purpose, and possibility of Black women, conversations on healing and wholeness. We've been at it really all day, but in earnest since 1 o'clock. And we will continue the day after 5 o'clock when this panel ends with Amadi Braxton's show. And then Envy McKee has her big birthday bash on air from 7 to 10. So just stay tuned. But right now we are talking with the new women of WURD, Tiffany Bacon, who you hear regularly, but she is our new program and news director. Carol Riddick, who you also hear frequently as a guest host on Safe Space, and she is going to be co-hosting a new show, a new relationship show called Love and Life, starting in January. And then also Tanya Hopkins, who is another new woman of WURD. She is going to be launching a new show called Savory and Sweet, looking at food and culinary history and culture, starting also in January on Sundays from 11 to 1.
11 to 1, yeah.
Woo, it's getting late. So I have a question for you, Tanya, because one of the themes for today is health and wellness, right? And we know that there is such a tight connection, especially for Black people, around food and health. And so I wanted to see if you could just speak a little bit about how you envision the possibility of talking about that connection, even though, you know, it's not a health show, it's a food show, but, you know, just letting people know that these things are all connected.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that question, Sarah, and we've talked about this, and, you know, one of the things that I'm really passionate about sharing is just kind of a reframing. I think that in the recent decades, there's been a shroud of this idea that somehow we have, you know, our food culture is unhealthy, or somehow all this stuff, you know, and I got to tell you, I think it was on the panel before this, the doctor mentioned that, you know, the data tells, you know, real true data tells the truth. And, you know, that's not entirely the case. You know, I want to reconnect people to the truth of Black food culture, you know, not homogeneously throughout the diaspora, but to the reality of things like, it's the culture connected to leafy greens, to, you know, tubers, to root vegetables, to seasonality, to fish and seafood on protein if you're an omnivore, to, you know, just kind of put that conversation about, you know, healthy soul food on the back burner, because a lot of things fell off of that soul food plate over the decades in terms of, you know, linked to the Great Migration, moving north, linked to working in industrial situations, working hours, you know, untraditional hours, and access, you know, a switch from the farm and land and to urban settings. There's so many different factors, but I just want to kind of remind us collectively and individually that that's not the whole story. You know, I'm a big advocate of soul food, but it's just part of the story. And one of the things I talk about is you know, Beyond the South, Bigger Than Slavery, and Before Soul Food, in terms of the roles that African Americans, Black people, colored, Negro, and I'm saying all the names because we're one of the only groups that's had 7 names in less than 1 century. And as a scholar, that makes a huge difference when you look for this data and this information. And one of the things that I was so excited to discover years ago, and really am looking forward to having this conversation in the show and with guests, is this notion that the face of the American centenarian was us and Black men, Black people, a Black person. And still to this day, often, if you pay attention to the news about people who are living to 113, 112 and so forth, in spite of everything, in spite of the racism and the sexism and all the health disparities and whatever, still that is a continuing. That's something that never really gets talked about a lot. And before 1970, it was even a higher incidence of that. No, everybody didn't live to be 113, but there were, you know, the incidence and the occurrence of that, that's something to look at. And when the media talks about things like these blue zone diets and the Mediterranean diet and Okinawa, and that's great and that's wonderful. But I got to tell you, you know, there's something called the Black People in America diet, you know, before 1970. And, you know, and there's regional implications to it. But there's something there, and we need to be added to this blue zone map in terms of whether we have the time travel to do it, you know. But the point is to remember and just kind of like, instead of the conversation that, oh, you're bad, something's wrong with your food, your culture. No, let's look at other factors that have happened. Let's look at how urbanization is linked to industrialization of food, fast food in Black neighborhoods, what people have access to after a certain point in time, and when all the food related malaise starts to come up, right? Diabetes, hypertension, all that stuff. It's all mapped out, but rather than being like, oh, it's our fault, we caused it, we're so bad. No, there are a lot of factors that were outside of our control, but there are always factors that we can do our best to try to control within this context with awareness and understanding. What are they? And how can we tweak that? And how can we come from a place of self-love rather than self-flagellation in terms of like, oh, Black people need to do this and that. We did it. We done all the things. Okay, we just need to we need to redo some of the things that we done did. And yes.
Yeah. We need to remember, refrain, yes. Re. So Tiffany, like, I want to just pivot to the holidays. And I know that you're still like working your magic, but anything you want to share about where we are with the holidays, and if there's anything, as we look to 2022, which is when these shows will debut, what's between now and then?
Well, on Christmas Day, we will be able to bring to you a rebroadcast of Soulful Christmas, which just happened this week at the Kimmel Center. I'm talking multiple choirs just lifting their voices in praise. A beautiful, beautiful concert you'll be able to hear on WURD first thing in the morning on Christmas morning, which is followed by stories from the keepers of the culture. There will be storytelling on air that day, and getting folks ready for Kwanzaa, which starts the very next day. So lots to listen to. It will be flavorful, pun intended, and joyful. And we definitely want it to be joyful. That's what you can expect between now and then. But these two shows actually debut technically the day after each other. But like I said, since Love and Life comes on at midnight, it might be the same day. So Sunday night at midnight, January 2nd, Sunday night at midnight, or if that is exactly for you, Monday morning, that is when you'll hear Love and Life. On January 2nd at 11 a.m. is when you'll hear Savory and Sweet. So they pretty much have debuts pretty much on the same day. And that's what you're going to get. And, of course, all the other great stuff that we provide for you at WURD.
Absolutely. So, I mean, and I'll pivot to you, Carol, because, well, before I do that, I just want to invite, if we have any questions or comments in Facebook, you can drop them in the chat, and we will share those over the air. We're talking with the new women of WURD today on our 2021 empowerment experience. And it is Tiffany Bacon, Tanya Hopkins, and Carol Riddick we are in conversation with. And Carol, so, we've been talking a lot over the course of the day about mental health and about the holidays and just kind of the things that can be challenging during the holidays. And I'm just wondering if like, one of the things, me and Tiffany were actually talking about this before the show, is, obviously big pressure date night is New Year's Eve. So what kind of guidance would you give to people, regardless of their, relationship status? What are some tips on how to navigate New Year's Eve?
It's so funny you would ask that one question, because I have been having that conversation continuously lately. But my suggestion has been, so I'll say this. In the last year, we've all been made to find things that we enjoy doing, whether it's by ourselves or with those within the confines of our residence. So I've been encouraging everyone to lean on those things that you enjoy doing, whether it's playing a game, cards, or I've gotten into board games and puzzles and things of that nature, but finding things that I should say, and here's the thing, because most of the people with whom I've spoken, they all said, well, you know what, I started doing things that I used to do as a child, meaning the puzzles, and someone said they started coloring. You know, other
Nice.
people said they started watching movies. They were never, a movie person. But I'm suggesting that those things that we're all finding that we love and enjoy and are new to, that we make that like an actual, if you will, event. Make that an event. I did suggest to someone, and they're actually going to do this. They're inviting their family to a Zoom Christmas. So because everybody is cautious about getting together because of the new variant that we have now. The family said, well, you know what, when she suggested it to her family was so excited because they would all still be able to get together. So they're going to get together for 2 hours on Christmas via Zoom, with their individual households, and they're going to talk about the dishes that they're all having and share stories. And I thought that was a great thing, that they all decided to do. Well,
So I have a topic for your show.
okay. I'm excited.
It is, dating during COVID. What the hell?
Child.
How do people date during COVID? So that's my. I'm going to throw that one into the hop.
I have some stories to share. I do. I actually have some stories to share. Yes. I tried it. So there are personal stories. How about that? So I tried it.
Okay.
I'm still single. So.
I don't think we have enough time to dive.
I'm thinking no.
So,
Yeah.
Tiffany, do you have I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And I just wanted to shout out one thing, because events are happening. If you're thinking about doing something on New Year's Eve, just want to throw out there another Philly favorite, friends of yours, whom you've appeared on albums with, Miss Carol. Kindred the Family Soul is doing a live performance on New Year's Eve.
That's right.
You got to check out City Winery for that. They are doing a couple of performances, an early performance at 7. They're doing one at 11, so you can bring in the new year with Kindred the Family Soul. Wear your mask, because wear your mask. Or the next day on New Year's Day. So they do have that. So if that's something that you're like, I want to do something different, I do want to go out, I will be safe, let me do that. So there's some of those things going on. I want to ask both of you ladies before we get ready to wind down. I got to ask you, why radio? Why are you interested in radio? Why do you want to be here with us on the mic? And I'll start with Tanya.
It's the medium of conversation, right? And who conversates better than Black people? I don't know where that came from. I mean, everybody conversates, but what I mean by that is, and one of the reasons I chose the name Griot as part of my moniker is as storyteller, oral historian, keeper of traditions, passing that through stories, verbally, conversation, over the generations, is that it's so relevant to us culturally, as people who, majority of descendants of the Africans brought here, coming from the West African region, where that concept of griot and the importance of oral tradition and storytelling and talking and communicating, which also shows up in rap and preaching and call and response and going to the movies with in Black communities, people talking to we're just a very I just feel like it's very culturally relevant, not to mention the fact that here it took on a whole new meaning in terms of getting word, WORD, getting word, during enslavement times, with the imposition of illiteracy and not being able to write at risk of loss of life and limb. And we have taken the art of talking to another level, I think. And I think that a lot of the freshness that the language that the American English has comes from Black culture. And, with WURD being the only Black owned and operated talk radio station in Pennsylvania and one of 3 in the nation, this is a living treasure to be not just be cherished but also to be sustained and breathed into it and shared. And it's the medium of conversation.
I love that.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Tanya. How about you, Carol?
I love communication and interaction. And I find that more people than not are more open to communicating when they either you don't have to see them. They could either write or they could speak. And I feel that they would be more apt and willing to participate. And that makes me interested in radio more so than any other medium, because I'm so looking forward to everybody participating, sending suggestions, emails, and the conversation or the communication that we will have as a result of radio. But also with regard to WURD, it's a staple for me, in my family, in my life. It's what I know. It's from where I come. And I just feel like there is no better place to have the conversations that we intend to have.
I love it. Thank you for answering that, both of you. Thank you.
Definitely. I wanted to see one of the things. Obviously, the theme of today's words is the empowerment experience, and we've been weaving in these words of empowerment throughout the day. And so, it would not be. We can't end the day without getting some words of empowerment from you three ladies. And I might even chime in, but does anybody have a word of empowerment that they'd like to share as we get ready to close out?
Just one word?
No.
Okay.
No, it's like a phrase. It's like it could be a poem, it could be a phrase, it could be a quote.
A trilogy of words.
Yes.
Go ahead, Carol. Carol got some words. I'm just talking smack. Go ahead, Carol.
No, actually, what I wanted to share is that I want everyone to know that you have a tribe. If you did not already know, we are your tribe. This is a new beginning for us, and I believe I can speak for everyone in this space right now that we're encouraging everyone to join, to chime in, to be a part. If you've not been in the past, and if you have been in the past, just know that this is a safe space. Know that we're all here for one another and that we've got you. We're all in this together. I say that often. We're all in this together, but know that here is where we mean it. Other people say it, but here is where we mean it. We're all here. We're in this together. So know that you have your tribe here.
Awesome. I love that.
Love that too.
Tanya? Yeah, I know. I'm like, that sounds like a commercial to me.
I know. That was tough to follow, Carol.
It slapped some bumpers on it.
Got me shuffling through papers. I thought we were going to talk about holiday drinks, Sarah. We're going to talk about that. Well, all right. I'm going to go back to my re's. What were they? Remembering, reclamation, reframing. Yeah, I think that, I like alliteration. I like how you guys talked about power and purpose and possibility. And I think that, sharing resources collectively is a source of power. I think each of you have touched on that. You just touched on that, Carol, as well. And, our purpose, our missions are, rooted in the uniqueness of who we are as individuals, but also how we positively impact each other by sharing, by living on purpose, right? By sharing our missions. And then I was thinking about this this morning, for possibility, that's really when power and purpose come together and are harnessed, and utilized in a way, applying that power, applying your purpose in a way for positive change, in a collective, communal way. And on the heels of Kwanzaa, I get so excited about Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is coming. We need a song, the Christmas is coming song. Kwanzaa is coming. I got to get the rest of the line, musical people. I'm going to need a song. But, it's the two of the principles being about unity, all of them, unity, collective work, collective economics. I really think that it's a great 7-day, opportunity to kind of meditate on those principles to start the new year off right.
Absolutely.
And Philly is like one of the #1 Kwanzaa celebrating cities, which is so exciting. Dr. Karenga, the creator himself, I believe, comes to Philly each year. I have some recipes. I got some Kwanzaa cookie recipes and holiday, healthy, happy, healing holiday drinks from a Black perspective, African heritage drinks with hibiscus and ginger and all kind of stuff. We can share those recipes, Tiffany, Sarah, and pictures and stuff. Oh, there's a Kwanzaa episode. I'll ask y'all offline, but I guess I'm asking you in real time. Maybe we can share it.
We should do it. We should absolutely do
Yeah.
a Kwanzaa episode. Yeah.
Right. There's an existing one, but then, because since the show starts in January, I don't want to miss the opportunity to share something that is already existed. Y'all could just press play. Short and sweet.
Awesome. How about you, Tiffany?
I had to write mine down. I'll make it short and brief. I was once told, I did. I was once told that whatever you believe, you're right. If you believe you can't, you can't. But if you believe you can, you can. So why choose the negative? The last part is live in a way that people are not happy that you're gone. That's it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I think we are just about out of time. I didn't get dinged by Eric. He's been sending me these like big eyes because I've been going over every panel, but I have not gotten the big eyes. And I just am so grateful to all of you. Looking forward to being in community with all of you as we march into 2022 with power, purpose, and possibility. And have a beautiful holiday, Christmas, Kwanzaa, New Year, whatever you celebrate. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for today's 2021 WURD Empowerment Experience. I'm Sarah Lomax Reese, President and CEO of WURD Radio. And continue to listen for the rest of the day. We've been talking about the power, possibility, and purpose. The power, purpose, and possibility of Black women. Conversations on healing and wholeness. And stay tuned. And this day has been sponsored by PICO, Comcast, Keystone First, Temple University, Einstein, PA Lottery, Spectrum Health, Philadelphia Museum of Art, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, and Envision to Be Well. And we are also supported by the Racial Equity in Journalism Fund at Borealis Philanthropy. So stay tuned for Amadi Braxton, Solutions on WURD. And then, like I said, Envy McKee's birthday party is at 7 o'clock. It's going to be popping. So stay tuned for that. And absolutely stay tuned for January 2022 to hear about Love and Life with Carol Riddick and Savory and Sweet with Tanya Hopkins, and all the amazing work that Tiffany Bacon is going to bring into the new year. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for the WURD Empowerment Experience.